I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.
Welcome to another edition of MuscleSport Media Live on WGBB Radio, 95.9 FM, 1240 AM. I am your co-host, Joe Pietaro. I will be flying solo tonight. Anthony had plans, holiday plans, and my son Jimmy was going to pinch hit for him, but he was a little under the weather. But I'm never alone because I got Trevor right behind the glass. I can't. It's hard to see you with this big cheers thing. I'm just joking. The room is that Joey Petroni show. It's gonna be hard to follow that thing up. They went out with a blast at the end over there. Part that I heard when I was in the room waiting. But of course, the holidays are here. I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, enjoy. New Year's is only a couple of days away, and I'm looking forward to starting a fresh new year after a rocky 2024. But that's a story for another day. Really quick, NoahConstruction-Builders.com, our title sponsor. No job too big nor small for Pete and the guys over at Noah. Make sure you check them out. Great stuff. Go on their Instagram page. I tag them in the posts that I have promoting these shows all the time. They have some awesome videos of their before and after stuff that you can see of all of their construction jobs. But since Anthony's not here, I figured the best case scenario for me would be doing what I do best, and that is talking sports. Anthony is a lot more in the fitness world on top of that than I am. I kind of feed him the lines. But sports is my thing, and I figured, why not? Let's talk a little bit about the NFL playoff picture, and if we have time, because it probably will take hours to cover that, the hapless New York Jets. Trevor, did you have the unfortunate pleasure of watching the Jet game at all yesterday?
I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Oh, you're a lucky one then. I don't care. I only watch it because whatever I'm playing, that's what I'm rooting for. Now, obviously, I don't ever play the Jets because they are just a brutal organization. They really are. I mean, I remember, I think in the summer I did a show about their whole quarterback carousel and the quarterbacks they've given up on over the years and the mistakes. And I had picked them. In the preseason, they were 9.5 was their win over under. I picked them under, and I picked them to exactly win 7 games. I gave them too much credit. The most they can win is 5. They're going to get their butts kicked by Miami. Miami is actually still playing for something. That's why they flexed the game to 4:15, because the other teams in the AFC that are still in the picture, and we're going to go over this in a second, have things to play for. So they don't want a team to play at 1, and then it would have, you kind of back into the playoffs because somebody else lost. They wanted these teams playing at the same time. So anybody in the Jet world that's crying about being flexed to 4:15, that's the reason why. It has nothing to do with the Jets and their awful record and their just terrible, terrible organization. And Woody Johnson and his teenage son making the general managerial decisions via Madden ratings. Madden, the video game. Yes. All right, let's go over this. Tonight is the last game of Week 17, Detroit at San Francisco. It has some playoff implications in the NFC. We're going to get to that in a minute, only on Detroit's side. We'll start with the AFC. Kansas City Chiefs, as a result of Roger Goodell, Roger and the Refs, I call him. It's like a 60s band. 15-1. Don't get me wrong. Kansas City Chiefs are a great team. Patrick Mahomes is an amazing quarterback. He's a great young man. He's like I like seeing him succeed. I can't stand the way that this team has been basically all year long. No matter what happened, you knew that they were going to get the job done. It's kind of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. I can't stand the Kelce brothers either. But I like Mahomes. I love Andy Reid, and he's been through the trenches a million times. They have clinched everything number 1 seed, first round bye, home field advantage via this 15 AFC West Division 2. You can probably just jot them in for the Super Bowl right now, and even if it is a decision on the field that could go either way, and let's say a team like Buffalo, they're probably the second best team right now in that conference. If it's a close game, the refs listen. The Chiefs, how many Super Bowls have they been in? And they could be a three-peat. So even the Chiefs did not have a great season. If you look at these games and you watch them week in and week out, you will see that the Kansas City Chiefs have underachieved, but they are so good, and they have Roger and the refs backing them up, that they have been able to pull out these games and win. The only game they lost all year was to the aforementioned Bills. 13-3, AFC East they got the number 2 seed locked in. The Houston Texans. Now, the reason why they're next 9-7 is because the AFC South is awful. So they have the number 4 seed. The Ravens 11-5. It's going to be a great race between the MVP between. You have Baltimore, Buffalo, and Philly will have guys that are in that MVP race. I'm rooting for Barkley. He's a Brooklyn kid. He went to Penn State. That's my school that I like. I'm rooting for Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles to get the MVP. So the Ravens are in with an 11-5 record. Chargers clinched on Saturday, 10-6. They have a great turnaround with Jim Harbaugh. I will be the first to admit I did not think Harbaugh was going to be good in the NFL after going back to college with Michigan and coming back to the NFL, even though he was very successful earlier. I just thought maybe, his best days were behind him, especially with the Chargers. I didn't really see a lot going on in there. Herbert, really good, but not a lot of other things around them. But they put a good team together, and he's definitely coached them and done well. And the Steelers 10-6. Here's a team in the preseason I had picked I picked one disappointment was going to be the Jets, and I picked 2 surprises, Pittsburgh and the Raiders. Forget about the last one. I was wrong on that. Let's talk about the one I was right. Pittsburgh. I actually think Justin Fields should be playing. I like the way they get both of those guys in, but I just think there's a Wilson. He's had a good year, but sometimes when Fields is in the game, you have that different aspect of it. With that running, scrambling guy, you have to spy him sometimes. I like that aspect of having a mobile quarterback that could also throw the ball. And this is another reason why the Bears are horrible. And I predicted that it was going to be a bust city with that number 1 pick. And maybe not a bust, but he's had an awful season, Caleb Williams. USC, they just do not put out good pro quarterbacks. Look at the history of pro quarterbacks with USC. Mark Sanchez, if the Jets didn't ruin his career, would probably be the one guy that broke that mold, but he's still on the bubble with that one. So right now you have Baltimore clinches the AFC North and the number 3 seed. So this is a big game. Baltimore is playing Cleveland, who is at the bottom of that division, 3-13. So if Baltimore wins or ties, they win that division. Or if Pittsburgh loses or ties. So obviously the pressure is on Pittsburgh more than the Ravens, because they need the Baltimore Ravens to lose, and they need to take care of business themselves, playing the Bengals on a Saturday night game. I'm not a big fan of Saturday night games. They used to do in the NFL in the last few weeks of the season, Saturday afternoon games, and they started putting them at night. I think the Jets versus Oakland was one of the first ones back in 2002. So it looks like if the Baltimore is most likely going to be able to wrap up that game in a half and then sit their starters and rest them for the playoffs. But that would be a big difference between the 3 seed and be going in as a wild card, because you got the division title then. The Cincinnati Bengals kept their season alive with a nice win on Saturday in overtime. They play at Pittsburgh, like we just said, so they can win, and Denver loses, and Miami loses or ties. Forget about it, because Miami is playing the Jets. Sorry, guys. Denver Broncos, again, hanging around. Bo Nix was my offensive rookie of the year. Jaden Daniels definitely is going to win that. Bo Nix will probably be the second one to in second place for that. that award, postseason awards. Denver clinches a playoff berth if they win or tie, and Miami loses or ties, and Cincinnati loses or ties. Hey, listen, big year by Denver, regardless if they win and don't get in. Nice turnaround for that team. They found a franchise quarterback. Oregon, he had a great career at Oregon, Bo Nix, and he has come into the NFL, and he looks like he's a keeper over there. And then we have the Fish. This is Anthony's favorite team, the Miami Dolphins, 8-8 at Giant Stadium to play the New Jersey Jets, 4-12. This is why that game I told you was flexed to 425, because you have all the Denver and all of that other stuff going on. So figure on the Dolphins winning and then scoreboard watching. So it's pretty much wrapped up except for that last seed. There's 6 teams that are in, and there's a 7th that still remains to be seen. Let's switch over to the NFC. Philadelphia Eagles, 13-3. Clinched the NFC East, and they have the number 2 seed. The Rams, with the win the other day, 10-6, clinched the NFC West. Not a good division this year, but the Rams seem to have been able to do what they need to do to get in the playoffs. They have great experience there. I like a lot of the things that the Rams do, and I think they're going to be a tough out in the postseason. Detroit playing tonight, like I said, 13-2 entering this game tonight. They've already clinched the berth, but they're fighting with the Vikings, 14-2, for that title. So Detroit has a lot to play for tonight, and they are easily going to. San Francisco has been out for a couple of weeks now out of it. I think Detroit's going to wrap this game up early and rest their starters. So prop bettors, buyer beware when it comes to these games late in the season, when a team doesn't need to play 4 quarters of quality football to get the job done. So let's just say Detroit wins tonight. Minnesota Vikings 14-2. Also Green Bay 11-5. They're also in the playoffs. Really tough division. That division turned out to be possibly the best in the whole league. Definitely, because you can have 2 14-win teams. And then the Washington Commanders, I still can't get used to calling it that, with a very odd overtime win against Atlanta last night. The Roger conspiracy theorists had a field day on that, on how that game ended up winning. And Atlanta, who I'm my preseason pick to win the NFC division, that South division, they still have a chance to make it, but they really blew it by losing that game last night. So great turnaround by Washington to bring in, and Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback, had just a really, really good year. So let's say now this is the other game that's going to be interesting. If Detroit Sunday night, the last Sunday night game on NBC, let's say they're 14-2. Let's give them the win tonight. They're playing the Vikes 14-2 Sunday night game. Detroit clinches the North and NFC's number 1 seed, lone first round bye and home field advantage. With if Detroit beats San Francisco on Monday Night Football on Week 17 tonight, if Detroit win or tie, Detroit loses to San Francisco Monday night. Detroit wins Minnesota at Detroit Sunday night. That's going to be a great game if it still has a lot of implications, which it most likely will. It looks like most of these things are all racked up except for the seeding when it comes to that NFC 1 and 2 with Minnesota. What a turnaround by Minnesota as well. They draft J.J. McCarthy, the Michigan Panthers quarterback. He blows his knee out in preseason. They have Sam Darnold, ex-Jet, ex-Panther, ex-49er, come in and have a season that he could be in the MVP chat as well. Just an amazing turnaround for Darnold. The Jets panicked and pulled the string on him and just drafted Zach Wilson. Just an awful move. It's just, it remains to be seen on what goes on in the Jet world. So we have about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to just rip the Jets for a little while. This is a team that had preseason Super Bowl talk. I was not a big fan of the Aaron Rodgers move, as I was not a big fan of the Brett Favre move, because what it did was take away something that they were building. In the terms of the Favre move, they got rid of Pennington, who had led them to a bunch of playoff games, some playoff wins, and he was, now listen, he never could stay healthy. The guy was a really good quarterback. I think Brett Favre was a lot older, and they let Pennington go. He went to Miami and won the division against the Jets in week, at the time, 17, because there was only one bye then, in knocking the Jets around at the Giant Stadium. I will not call it the MetLife or Meadowlands, whatever. It's Giant Stadium 1, Giant Stadium 2. The Giants were going to be there regardless if the Jets gave them half the money or not. So they got rid of Pennington for Favre. Now, you may not like the whole Donald and or Wilson drafts, but at what point do you play a guy and just let him get it? I mean, Donald never had a chance. He went through how many head coaches, how many OCs, and Adam Gase was, I mean, it just, the kid never had a chance to do anything. And if you look at his numbers, they weren't that bad. Now, I will grant you, Zach Wilson, everybody thought he was going to be a great pick at number 2 after Jacksonville picked. I don't know, BYU, Steve Young is the last BYU quarterback. Was it Crouch? Was he not Crouch? I forget the other guy that came out of BYU and he bounced around and he wasn't that. Ty Detmer. Ty Detmer was a BYU quarterback with a lot of people thought, could this guy transcend to the pros? Steve Young was the last one to actually do it and do it on a successful basis for the Niners, of course. And before that, the USFL, Los Angeles Express, the original USFL back in the early 80s. So they should have let Donald have at least some, a continuous continuity. Give him some kind of playbook that he could get. He's a rookie. He's got to learn it. And now you're changing everything. You're changing coordinators, changing quarterback coaches, changing head coaches, changing GMs. He never had a fair shake, in my opinion. Then you go to Wilson. Now, Wilson had chances to perform and just has not been a good quarterback. And I don't think he's played a snap this year for the Broncos. I don't even know how many games he's dressed. He's their third QB. So, but if you were going to invest a number 3 and then a couple of years later a number 2 draft pick in the quarterback position, you need to give these guys time to grow. Look at Donald and look at Mayfield. Now people are going to go, Carolina they're horrible. Look, they got rid of both of those guys. I don't blame Carolina. I blame the teams that drafted those guys. I blame Cleveland and the Jets for letting these guys go. They really didn't get a lot of playing time in Carolina anyway. It was kind of like they were the backup and came in here and there, had a few starts. It wasn't like they were in there for 2 years straight and showed that they couldn't do it. But again, panic move. They bring in Aaron Rodgers, a very old, 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers at the time. He's 41 now. But not only that, Aaron Rodgers, he's a crackpot. I mean, this guy is definitely out there. He kind of beats the beat of his own drum, if you will. He likes to point the finger and he likes to think he's the de facto general manager of this team. He's always got a puss on his face if a play doesn't get done right. He's been awful this season as far as getting rid of the ball and clock management. How many delay of games have the Jets had this year? How many times has he had delay of game? You can't always blame the bench. Now, their coaching staff was a mess. They got rid of Salah, and it's been even worse. All right, so I think what are they, 2-11 after the 2-1 start? I mean, that is just god awful. We're talking about Rich Kotite level bad football being played there. But the thing that bothers me about Rodgers is that he feels that he's above and beyond everyone else in that organization. the GM, the players. I mean, I forget the name of the receiver. He threw a horrible pass to this guy. If he hit him, he was open. And he blamed the guy. He's like pointing at the guy. This is like, I don't know. And he made them get rid of Williams, and he went to the Steelers, so he's going to be going to the playoffs. If the Jets bring back Aaron Rodgers, now they're talking about, I mean, you talk about bringing up old names. I loved Rex Ryan when he coached the Jets. He was the guy that wanted to stick with Mark Sanchez. He loved Sanchez so much, he had a tattoo of his wife wearing his jersey on himself. The Rex was definitely a character, and he's awesome on television. I love him in the studio. He did not want any part of Tim Tebow nor Geno Smith. Now, he obviously had these guys forced down his throat. A bad decision putting Sanchez in that third quarter of that preseason game against the Giants when he blew his shoulder out. But I think Rex would have been fine if he didn't have these other quarterbacks shoved down his throat, and he would have let Sanchez play it out. Now, the guy led them to 2 AFC championship games. Regardless if he's a slinger or not a slinger, he was a good gamer. I hated the color-coded wristband stuff in his rookie year. But it obviously helped because he was better in season 2. And then in season 3, they finished 8-8, just missed the playoffs, and he was out for a lot of those games that they lost. So what do? They panic. They always panic. So to bring Rex Ryan back now, to me, would be a panic move because you had some good times with him. Now, he did okay with Buffalo, but not great. They're also talking about Ron Rivera, who did a good job. I mean, he's one of the best defensive coordinators out there, and did a nice job as a head coach for a number of years with the Bears. Not so good with the Redskins. Kind of like Rex, good with the Jets, not so hot with the Bills. Same thing with Rivera, Chicago and Washington, respectively. I think the Jets should go for a younger type of head coach, a hot coordinator thing. Strip this thing down bare. You have good young players on this team. You have 2 good young running backs. You have a heck of a great wide receiver, young guy in Garrett. And you got another guy on the other side of the ball, Sauce Gardner. You could just tell that these guys aren't comfortable with Aaron Rodgers and just being the face of the franchise. This isn't the Aaron Rodgers that was doing the WWF belt in Green Bay in the Super Bowl. This is a long time. That's a long time ago. Rodgers came here. He definitely had some moments where you go, wow, there it is. That's the Rodgers we know and love. Not enough. Too many bad decisions on his part on the field, and I can't stand the finger pointing. You win nothing in the locker room by doing that. I don't care how good of a veteran you are. Many guys that are out there would never do something like. Can you see Warren Moon doing that? Could you see Joe Montana doing that? No, they would never do something like that. So Aaron Rodgers is a very selfish, spiteful player who wants to be involved in all the personnel decisions and wants to call the shots at all times. And that's not what he's there for. He's there for moving the chains and getting the ball in the end zone. Let the other guys, I don't care how bad they were. That was what they were hired for. You were hired for something else. If I'm the Jets, now they want to bring in this coach before they do the GM, and it's exactly what they did before that when they brought in Bowles, who actually worked out pretty good for them for a little while, and has done really well with Tampa since then. But now you want to bring in the GM after the coach is hired. You're making the same mistakes with this stupid de facto. Let's bring this group of guys in and let them do this 3-headed monster of advising us, this advisory board. Hire a GM, president of operations. Let him hire the coach. Let him draft the players. Let him cut the players. Let him trade the players. You're never going to win with all these esoteric opportunities that you're taking. And Woody, please leave your kid at home. We don't need Madden. The last Madden I played was 95. So we don't need Madden ratings in the owner's box. Hey, guys, have a happy new year. That's going to do it for us here on MuscleSport Media Live. For Anthony and Trevor, I'm Joe. We will see you guys in 1 week.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders, through dreams we design, with vision we build.